Hey everyone, just so you know, the following video is a clip from a show I actually do on AFTV. The full link for the video is in the description below. Thank you for your continued support, really appreciate it. We've got a comment here from Richard Mark saying, it's not your money. Richard, I know, but in what world do we live in where we think Arsenal can get £60 million Havertz, £120 million Caicedo, £100 million plus Rice, and then everything else we need to address, because we know we need a number 8. There's no number 8 in there. Rice could play 8. Havertz could drop back and play 8. But we know that Arsenal want to target a proper number 8. Apparently they want a right back and a centre back as well, or maybe one or the other, and then White's position shift. There's still a lot of work to do, and you've got to, in some way, just acknowledge that they can't do all of it. We have spent a lot of money without the Champions League. I bet FFP are keeping a little look on us as well.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it's not just a matter of the it's not your money thing doesn't really apply completely with these things, right? Because they do have to balance FFP. So, yeah, you're right in a way. I want them to spend as much money as they possibly can.
Million, I won't care.
Yeah, I want them to spend it, but they do have to stay within the rules of what Man City used to do back in the day, right? We can't do now. It's been scrutinised hard. You're watching Newcastle. If Newcastle really wanted to, if it didn't matter, they could go and get whoever they want right now. They could go and put an offer to Mbappe that would match anything that you're seeing going on in Saudi Arabia at the moment, because they are Saudi Arabia, right? But they can't because of the rules, the FFP rules. They've got to be careful on their spending as well.
I also just want to say something about, take Man City, okay? This is the club who won the treble, and look at the success they've had, and everyone says we want to be like Man City, okay? Grealish is their only £100 million transfer. Otherwise, I think 60 for Mahrez is the nearest to that. Everything else, and the reason, and I know 60 million when they signed Mahrez is probably more like what 80 million is today. But the point I'm trying to make is, City got to where they got because they were able to say no. We wanted 70 million for Alexis Sanchez. It didn't happen. They wanted Harry Maguire. They wanted about 80 million Leicester. They said no. They wanted Fred. They were talking about 50, 55 million. United paid it. City said no. Knowing when to say no is also a trait of a big club, because when it comes to doing the business you want to do, you've set a precedent now. You've set to whoever you're negotiating with, hold on, don't come with anything stupid. We've shown you for the last 3-4 years we're not going to do it. So Harry Kane. They were willing to go to about 100 million. Tottenham wanted 120. Can you imagine Harry Kane in that Tottenham team? They said no, walk away. Next year they picked up Haaland for 50.
In the City team.
Being able to say no is also a part of functioning really well in the transfer market, and being ready for future deals and still being competitive. So don't think that just because Arsenal are going, we're not going to spend 120 million for Caicedo when we're also getting Rice, that's something we're not acting like a big club, or we're not ambitious. You can be smart with it, but it's about the alternatives they pick up and what their next plan is.
Plan Bs. It's about the Plan Bs. I spoke about it on my Transfer Daily this morning. If you haven't watched that already, make sure you check it out. What if we don't get Rice? Right, because you can never say never. If we don't get Rice, could they turn to maybe a Zubamendi of Real Sociedad? So you've always got to have options. You've always got to have options. So and also actually over the past a few windows have done very well in bringing in options. Zinchenko came in instead of Lisandro Martinez. Trossard came in instead of Mudryk. Jorginho came in instead of Caicedo. So, but
they do need to land some of these.
But I think, that is the thing, and that is where I understand where a lot of fans are coming from. They're like, when are we gonna go out there and get who we targeted? That big guy, because it was Vlahovic as well before that as well. So I understand. I understand the anxiety.
Yeah, I completely agree. On the Lavia thing, just a little bit more, and then we'll go through some other news. He's about 19 years old. 18, 19. I think he arrived at 18. He's 19 now. He's 19 now.
Yeah, 19.
So I do think the Lavia one is maybe more stomachable in that, listen, he's had a fantastic first year. He had some injury problems, but whenever I watched him, I thought he looked Rolls Royce, just really, that player that cruises through games, really elegant. I thought he looked great. 19 years old. So I don't think there'll be that expectation that he's like the answer, or that he's the needing to play every game. whilst also having a really exciting prospect that you can bring in and rotate every now and again. And that probably complements, and I know Caicedo's 21 as well, so don't get me wrong, Caicedo, it's similar. But if you're spending 120 million on Caicedo, there's probably a little bit more pressure for him to have regular involvement. With Lavia, I think there's that nice complement with Partey's around 30, Rice, who's coming around 24, who can play as a 6, if obviously we get Rice over the line. Jorginho's still there. So there's something moldable about Lavia that I quite like as well.
Definitely. And like you said, you know, I mean, you all these things you have to think about when you're juggling and constructing a squad, you know. And somebody like Lavia, you know, he's 19, like you said, so he's not gonna be kicking the manager's door down and saying, why am I not playing? And he will still get a lot of games as well. So I think that would be, you know, if that one came true, that I think that Declan Rice and Lavia for me would represent unbelievable business. I do think Lavia is going to be a player that we're going to look at in a couple of years' time and say, wow. And so, yeah, I mean, this the other thing in the transfer window. I mean, them sort of players that sometimes now you're looking and just thinking, go and get Caicedo. But then you can see a Lavia sort of move ahead of a player like that in a couple of years' time, and everyone's like, why didn't we go and get it? How comes Brighton have chosen it? I mean, so
it's true. No, it's true that it's so funny because me and you were on on a live show a year ago, and the fans were losing their heads over Basuma. There's no one, not one person in the comments, and all the lives I've done have said, go pick up Basuma from Tottenham. No, why? Because
I was one of them people losing it, saying, why have Arsenal not gone and signed Basuma?
Things can change so
I was
quickly.
one of them, and look at...
Things change so quickly.
And he came from Brighton.